Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here are tonight's top stories. Hong Kong's 5 franchised bus operators apply for fare increases. China reopens its borders to foreigners from tomorrow after 3 years. And Beijing hits out at a US-led plan to build a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. All 5 franchised bus companies have applied to raise fares, with one even calling for a 50% jump on one route. The government said it may lower the rate of increase that is sought or even reject the applications if they are considered to be too high. Joanna Ho reports.
A paper submitted to the Legislative Council today contained details of the fare hike application by all 5 of the city's franchised bus operators. 3 companies want fares to go up by nearly 10%. KMB is pushing for a 9.5% increase, Longwind Bus 8.5%, and New Lantau Bus 9.8%. New World First Bus is seeking a $2 fare increase on all its routes. Citybus also applied for an across-the-board $2 rise for its franchise for the Hong Kong Island and cross-border F1 network. For its airport and North Lantau F2 network, which hasn't seen a fare adjustment since mid-1997, Citybus applied for an extra 23% for its regular and overnight services, including B, E, and N routes, and 50% more for its Airbus services. DAB lawmaker Ben Chen said a flat $2 rise is unfair as some routes are shorter. The Transport and Logistics Bureau said the overall bus patronage of 3 to 3.5 million in the past 3 years was generally lower than in the previous decade, where it even reached 4 million. The impact of COVID and competition from other modes of transport led to the decline. Except for KMB, which made more than $300 million in profits between 2020 and 2021, the other 4 operators were in the red. Lawmakers will discuss the fare rise applications on Friday. The government pledged to scrutinize the proposals, saying it may suggest a lower rate of increase applied or even reject the applications if they are considered to be excessive. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
China is to resume issuing visas to foreigners from tomorrow in its latest move to emerge from the shadows of COVID and reconnect with the world. Visa-free entry to certain places will also resume. Chloe Feng has the details.
The long wait is over for foreigners eager to visit China. The Foreign Ministry says from tomorrow, China will resume issuing all types of visas for overseas tourists. Those with visas issued before March the 28th in 2020 will be allowed entry if the documents have not expired. Port visas or visas issued at the point of entry will be given as long as applicants have valid reasons. Visa-free entry also resumes for Hainan Island and cruise ships passing through Shanghai. Certain tour groups from Hong Kong and Macau will not need visas to go to Guangdong province. And group tours from the Southeast Asian bloc ASEAN can travel visa-free to Guilin City in Guangxi. The move, which will boost China's economy, comes a day after the closing ceremony of the National People's Congress. In his speech, President Xi Jinping pledged to continue deepening reform and opening up. China has been steadily normalizing operations at its border since January 8th, when it abruptly abandoned quarantine measures after a 3-year battle to contain COVID. Since January, only foreign business people were given visas. Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said China will continue to optimize cross-border travel in an orderly manner. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
China has denounced a plan by a US-led alliance to station nuclear-powered submarines in the Indo-Pacific region. Although the US, Britain, and Australia say the submarines will not be nuclear-armed, Beijing has warned that peace and security will be threatened. Sachin Katvi reports.
With an eye on China, Australia has launched its biggest military overhaul since the Second World War. At an American naval base in San Diego, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, his British counterpart Rishi Sunak, and US President Joe Biden released details of a plan to deploy a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines in the Indo-Pacific region. It's a long-term strategy stretching over 30 years and begins with the stationing of US and British nuclear-powered submarines in Australia. Later, Australia will buy American vessels and together with Britain will start building their own nuclear-powered submarines with US technological support.
The AUKUS partnership that we're announcing today is not about any one particular country, so that's really important for people to recognise. But more broadly about China, I think it's just clear that it represents a systemic challenge to us and the world order, and we are aligned with our allies, the US, Australia and others, in how we perceive China.
Australia will fork out $250 billion over the next 3 decades to finance the ambitious program. The alliance said the new submarines will be conventionally armed and not carry nuclear weapons. In Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin described the submarine deal as typical Cold War mentality, which could cause an arms race, damage the international nuclear non-proliferation regime, and harm regional stability and peace. Sachin Katpi, HKIBC.
Green groups have hit out at Joe Biden for approving a controversial oil and gas drilling project in Alaska. His green light will enable U.S. oil giant ConocoPhillips to drill in the largest tract of government land. Environmentalists and Native Alaskan communities are worried about the damage to wildlife and the climate. Political analysts say Biden's decision may have an impact on his chances for re-election if he chooses to make another bid for the White House next year. As a presidential candidate in 2020, he promised no more drilling on federal land. Thousands of supporters of Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan have taken to the streets to call for fresh polls that could propel him back to power.
We are here, we are on roads. For what? Our demand is free and fair elections to choose our leadership and choose our leader for the next election. So our demand is elections, elections and elections.
A massive rally took place in Lahore amid concerns that Imran Khan could be arrested at any time. Courts in the capital Islamabad issued 2 more arrest warrants after he ignored earlier demands to appear before judges. Khan has accused his political opponents and the United States of colluding in his ouster almost a year ago. Back in Hong Kong, middle-income elderly people are being offered a lifelong lease under a scheme which provides various amenities under one roof. But they will have to pay up to $2.6 million for the privilege, Cheryl Yuan reports.
Blissful Place on Lee Kong Street in Hong Kong has more than 300 flats for elderly people looking to have all amenities under one roof. Over half of the apartments are one-bedroom units of between 375 and 403 square feet. The others are less spacious. The flats in the 29-story building are for people aged 60 or above, who pay a lump sum of around $1.2 million to $2.6 million under a Lease for Life scheme.
The main goals of the Blissful Place is to promote active aging so that the seniors can enjoy a healthy lifestyle and active life after their retirement.
The age-friendly flats include easy access for wheelchair users, and there are recreational, medical, and rehabilitation services under the same roof. The bathroom in all the flats are specially designed for the elderly. There are emergency support buttons and handrails in the toilet and inside the shower cubicle. These gadgets are meant to provide extra protection for the elderly occupants. Occupants can also opt for other safety measures, including morning calls.
The system has set a time, so every day the tenant will say hello to us. If they do not say hello to us, and the system will send a signal to our care staff, so our care staff will call them to see if they are in need of help, to make sure they are safe.
Blissful Place is the 3rd project under the scheme. Prospective occupants can view the flats on Friday and move in the middle of this year at the earliest. Jolly Place in Tseung Kwan O opened in 2002, and Cheerful Court in Ngau Tau Kok a year later. Cheryl Yun, HKIBC.
The landlord of a subdivided flat has been fined $5,000 for overcharging a tenant for water. The landlord pleaded guilty to 5 counts at Fanling Magistracy. He overcharged his tenant in Yuen Long between January and June last year. The Water Supplies Department said it will help landlords install separate meters for each subdivided unit free of charge, so tenants will only be billed for the water they use. There are growing expectations that the trend of rising U.S. interest rates may take a pause next week. That's because the collapse of a U.S. bank triggered panic and turmoil in global financial markets. The financial tsunami, triggered by the second biggest banking failure in U.S. history, continued to pulsate anxiety through global markets. Customers of Silicon Valley Bank lined up outside its Santa Clara branch in California to withdraw their savings after the federal government stepped in to guarantee deposits.
Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. First, all customers who had deposits in these banks can rest assured, rest assured they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today. No losses will be, and this is an important point, no losses will be borne by the taxpayers.
But Biden's assurances could not stop a global rout in banking stocks. Silicon Valley Bank fell victim to rate hikes, which depreciated the value of the Treasury bonds, in which the lender had invested most of its money. The collapse and the ensuing turmoil has raised expectations that the U.S. Federal Reserve will not raise interest rates when it meets next week. The ripple effects of the Silicon Valley Bank collapse hit Hong Kong stocks, with the Hang Seng Index falling to its lowest since December. The benchmark lost 2.3% as banks led the rout. Massive short selling saw Standard Chartered tank 7.2%. HSBC was not far behind, losing 4.7%, as it will be responsible for reimbursing Silicon Valley Bank depositors in Britain after taking over its UK business for a nominal sum. BOC Hong Kong also fell victim to short selling, closing 3.4% lower. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 448 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent was down $3.20, AIA Insurance down $3.70. Meituan was down $3.60, JD.com was down $3.50. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.4, the British pound at 9.53. And over in UK markets, the London FTSE is currently up 8 points. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy tomorrow with some sunny intervals. Temperatures will range between 19 and 25 degrees. It'll become more humid as we head to the weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Good night.